care, less cost. Discover the elephant difference at elephant.com.
Good morning, America. Decision Day. President Trump set to make a major announcement. Will he pull out of the landmark climate change deal? The president's inner circle deeply divided. Ivanka Trump against Steve Bannon. Inside the fierce fight at the White House and what's at stake. The decision coming just hours from now.
Breaking news, a massive explosion rocking this Wisconsin plant overnight.
A large explosion, large fire, a lot of smoke.
Employees trapped inside as it collapsed. At least one person killed, multiple missing or injured. Helicopters and emergency crews on the scene, racing to find survivors.
Newly released dashcam video shows Tiger Woods' DUI arrest.
Do you know where you're at right now?
I do not know.
The golfing great found asleep at the wheel, stumbling, struggling to complete basic tasks, unsure where he is.
I'm placing you under arrest for suspicion of driving under the influence, okay?
The mystery this morning, what was the superstar doing just before the arrest?
And on the eve of the NBA Finals, LeBron James targeted. Police now investigating a possible hate crime at his LA home.
Being a black man in America is very frightening.
As the king prepares to defend his crown, Warrior star Steph Curry opening up exclusively to GMA about taking on LeBron.
We obviously run into each other from time to time, and we have the battles on the court.
What he's saying about the ultimate rematch kicking off tonight.
This is Stephen Curry. Good morning, America.
Live in Times Square, this is GMA with Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, and Michael Strahan.
And good morning, America. All eyes on the NBA Finals tonight and some pretty impressive stats. It is the third time in a row the Cavs are facing off against the Warriors.
But it's also the 7th year in a row LeBron James is in the finals.
Wow.
All right, who do you guys think is going to win? Who's going to win?
Cleveland.
You got to go. You're from Cleveland.
Yeah, from
you better
Cleveland.
go with Cleveland. How about you, Amy?
The Cavs? I don't know.
That's Cleveland, too.
I know.
It's going to be hard. I'm going with Cleveland as well.
Oh, we're all out there right now.
We're all out there.
It is a busy Thursday morning in Washington. President Trump just hours away from making that big announcement about the Paris Climate Accord. This could be a dramatic break from the world community. Right now, only Syria and Nicaragua have not signed on. This morning, more than 40 House Democrats are calling for Jared Kushner to lose his security clearance over reports that he failed to properly disclose secret meetings with the Russians. And former Vice President Joe Biden launching a new political action committee. It's called American Possibilities, and it is sparking some speculation that he could run in 2020. We want to start with the president's climate deal decision. Our senior White House correspondent, Cecilia Vega, is at the White House this morning. Good morning, Cecilia.
Hey, George, good morning to you. White House sources tell us that the president is likely to pull out of that Paris climate deal today. The president himself not offering any hints. Instead, he is tapping into his days as a reality TV star, teasing ahead to that big announcement this afternoon. His announcement came overnight in the form of what else? A tweet. President Trump says his much-anticipated decision on the Paris Climate Accord will come today at 3 p.m. in the Rose Garden. It's a decision he's been talking up for days. Yesterday at the White House,
Any decision on the Paris climate deal, Mr. President? Are you close? Very soon. I'm hearing from a lot of people both ways.
even on his big foreign trip, saying he would make his final decision this week. Both in and outside the White House, the lobbying is fierce. His inner circle deeply divided. Chief strategist Steve Bannon, along with 22 Senate Republicans, pushing for withdrawal. Chief economic advisor Gary Cohn, a Democrat, and daughter Ivanka pushing to stay. Apple's Tim Cook and Tesla's Elon Musk making personal last-minute pleas. Musk even threatening to resign from White House advisory councils if the president backs out of the deal.
Global warming and that, a lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax. I mean, it's a money-making industry, okay?
That was then candidate Trump on the campaign trail. Aides now say the president's views on climate change are evolving. Now the president seems poised to back out of that landmark climate deal, dismissing the advice of even the Pope, prompting responses from both sides of the aisle. Bernie Sanders called it a horrific mistake, and former Republican Governor Mitt Romney tweeted, "Affirmation of the Paris Agreement is not only about the climate, it is also about America remaining the global leader." Well, polls show that a majority of Americans overwhelmingly oppose withdrawing from the Paris deal. But, George, as you say, if the U.S. does leave this accord, it would leave us with just two other countries standing alongside Nicaragua and Syria.
Yeah, big break right there. Meantime, Hillary Clinton not going anywhere. She's out in public again last night talking about the election, talking about this climate change deal as well.
Yeah, George, this is basically 2016 all over again. She's talking about the reasons for her loss, blaming everything from the FBI director to James Comey to even her own party. Take a listen to that one.
I get the nomination, so I'm now the nominee of the Democratic Party. I inherit nothing from the Democratic Party.
What do you mean nothing?
I mean, it was bankrupt. It was on the verge of insolvency. Its data was mediocre to poor, non-existent, wrong. I had to inject money into it.
This is the DNC.
And with that cue, the Twitter war, the president tweeted right after that, a few hours after she spoke, crooked Hillary Clinton now blames everybody but herself, refuses to say she was a terrible candidate. And of course, Hillary Clinton fired back with a tweet of her own. She is making fun of the president's tweet from a day earlier, that incomparable word, saying that people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. She used the word, George, that none of us can pronounce, so I will spare you my attempt to pronounce it again, except her tweet was retweeted tens of thousands times more than the president's original one. So it's like we can't get rid of 2016.
Covfefe.
No, I'm not saying it.
Okay. Thank you, Cecile. Let's go over to Amy.
All right, George, and for more now on the Paris Climate Accord and what it involves and who it will impact, our chief national correspondent Tom Llamas is here. So, Tom, start with what's at stake.
Yeah, well, first, it was the largest climate agreement in history. 195 nations signing on to cut greenhouse gas emissions. Nearly every country in the world, Amy, except two, Syria and Nicaragua. Now, if the U.S. pulls out, it's going to join that very small and right now very infamous club. So what is at stake here? Well, the U.S. pledged to cut greenhouse gas emissions by at least 26% by 2025. But every country sets their rules initially, so some people don't like that. China, for instance, doesn't start really until 2030. The ultimate goal of the Climate Paris Accord, here's what it is. We want to make sure global temperatures don't rise above 3.65 Fahrenheit. Experts believe that's the point of no return.
Okay, and we heard from Cecilia's reporting that there is quite the battle brewing inside the walls of the White House. So talk a little bit more about who President Trump is getting advice from as he weighs his decision.
This is huge publicly and privately. First, those to stay, Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, and Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State. Now, of course, Ivanka and Jared, the closest advisors to President Trump, and Rex Tillerson, a former CEO of ExxonMobil, they want to stay in. But those opting to come out, big names, Steve Bannon, Chief White House Strategist, and the EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt. Their argument is that this goes against the America First policy. It's going to hurt the 1.1 million jobs in the fossil fuel industry. And they remember the campaign promise that President Trump said he's going to come out of the Paris Climate Accord. And he made the promise in West Virginia, Kentucky, and California. And of course, if he does break, this would be the biggest public split from Ivanka Trump so far.
A decision soon?
3 o'clock, hopefully. Yeah.
All right. We'll go back over to George.
Okay, thanks very much. We're joined now by a friend and ally of the president, Christopher Ruddy, CEO of the conservative website Newsmax. Chris, thanks for joining us again this morning. You just saw the division laid out in the White House right now by Tom Llamas. Bottom line, it does seem to be that the president's tipping toward keeping that campaign promise.
Well, it seems that way, George, based on the press reports. I do think, and you had 22 senators, I think Tom mentioned this, right to the president, including the Senate Majority Leader McConnell, saying we should pull out. It's very onerous. You know, people forget, I lived in Europe. You've been over to Europe many times. People don't drive as much. American cars, to reduce your carbon emission footprint on your car by 26% by the year 2025, that is going to be, it's cost the auto industry here billions and billions of dollars. It'll cost American consumers during that period. So we should look at the impact. I personally think that the president should kick this over to the Senate because it impacts American lives. There should be a treaty discussion on it. There should be modifications. And if, look, China's not implementing theirs until 2030, why should we be doing it by 2025?
Let's talk about the divisions inside the White House as well. And more reports the president is isolated, frustrated, unhappy with his staff, wants a big shakeup. In the past, you've advocated that.
Well, let's go over the president's mood. I'm hearing that he's in a good, positive mood. He came back from Europe, put the NATO allies on notice. Hey, you can't be underspending us by a third to 2/3 in defense spending. Great meetings in Israel and the Arab world. I think there's always going to be divisions. I do think there's going to be a couple of major changes, 2 or 3 changes in the next 2 to 3 months. I don't think it'll be a wholesale shakeup, but that's good. I think it's also normal. This is not a politician that was elected to office. He is finding out and discovering what really works and who the key people he needs. So I think the changes will be good, and I think it'll be positive.
President up and tweeting again early this morning, of course, was up early yesterday morning as well with that famous now Kofefe tweet. Lawyers are telling him you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble if you keep tweeting about Russia and the investigations. Is there anybody there who can get a handle on this?
Well, the president has to get a handle on it. I personally think, I predicted it would take about 6 months for those tweets to become under more of a discipline review process. The president is a guy that likes to speak his mind. This is how he made his whole career. I think it's his personality. He is no longer really Donald Trump. He's the head of state. He represents the American people. I do think the tweets are very good. He should keep doing tweets. There should just be a review process of 2 or 3 people that look at it. I personally don't think, I'm not his legal counsel, he shouldn't be talking about anything now under criminal investigation, and be very careful about that. But I think these tweets coming out at midnight are not helping his popularity and his standing with the press and the public.
Chris Ruddy, thanks very much. And I will be anchoring ABC's live coverage of President Trump's announcement on the Paris Climate Accord. That will come from the Rose Garden at approximately 3 p.m. Eastern. Amy?
All right, George, more now on that Russia investigation. ABC News has learned that fired FBI Director James Comey could testify in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee as early as next week. Our senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas has those new details for us. Good morning, Pierre.
Amy, good morning. Comey wants to testify in open session before the Senate Intelligence Committee, and sources tell me it could possibly happen as early as Wednesday or Thursday of next week. But we should caution that no specific date has been set, and the situation remains fluid. But I'm told that Comey is prepared to answer questions about his relationship with the president and whether Trump sought his loyalty in the early days after the inauguration, and whether he pressured Comey to go easy on former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, who was forced to resign amid allegations that he lied about a conversation with the Russian ambassador. Trump had flatly denied those accusations, but we and others have reported that Comey has memos that will back up his story. No word yet on whether the White House would claim executive privilege to block Comey's testimony. Amy?
All right, Pierre Thomas, thanks so much. Michael?
All right, now to that breaking news, an explosion rocking a plant in Wisconsin overnight. Emergency crews on the scene searching for survivors. ABC's Don Macedo has the story.
There has been a report of a large explosion at Didion Milling. A large explosion, large fire, a lot of smoke.
This morning, at least 1 dead, 2 missing, and multiple people severely burned after a massive explosion and fire leveled this Wisconsin corn milling plant.
I called my coworker, and they were just trapped inside.
Local officials tell ABC News several employees were inside the Didion corn milling plant when it collapsed after a loud blast around 11 p.m. Wednesday night.
It's a 3- or 4-story building that no longer exists. Multiple med-flighted patients with injuries.
The 24-hour plant processes corn and corn byproducts right across the street from an ethanol plant, which was unharmed. The explosion was so powerful it caused part of the mill complex to collapse and knocked out power to the entire town and another surrounding community.
The whole village is dark.
The sheriff says 16 people were in that plant at the time. This is still an active scene with dozens of fire departments there, as well as agencies like the Salvation Army and the Red Cross. George, it is all hands on deck right now.
I can imagine. Okay, Diane, thanks very much. We're going to turn now to dramatic new images showing those terrifying moments inside Orlando's Pulse nightclub as police search for the shooter. This month marks a year since 49 people were killed in that horrific attack. Our chief investigative correspondent, Brian Ross, is here. And Brian, you spoke exclusively with those officers who went in first.
That's right, George. And these new videos come as the memories and the emotions of people in Orlando are still very raw.
The new dramatic videos show the urgency of the hunt for the active shooter inside the nightclub. Police unable to tell who was hiding in the darkness, a victim or a shooter.
Show us the hands.
I got his hands. Please help. Come out.
All right, come on. You're a policeman.
This video comes from the body camera worn by Officer Graham Cage.
Right when we were about to go in, we're still hearing shots.
And there's the haunting sound of the victim's cell phones ringing unanswered.
And I mean multiple phones just laying in pools of blood.
knowing that it's somebody's loved one trying to get a hold of their loved one.
Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming.
As the club patrons who survived race for safety outside, the shooter, 29-year-old Omar Mateen, retreats to a back bathroom, holding hostages, and spends more than an hour on the phone with a police negotiator who's trying to buy time.
Tell me what you did, please.
No, you already know what I did.
And then a threat of a bomb.
I'll tell you this, it can take out a whole city block almost.
Police are advised to pull back.
Just so you guys know, in the building, you may not want to stay there.
But not a single officer retreats.
We're in it to win it, you know. We didn't want to leave.
You weren't going to leave?
No.
Then the final breach, as police use an armored vehicle to smash holes in the building. And Mateen comes out shooting. One bullet hits an officer in the helmet.
Probably within an inch of losing his life, and the other officers there returned fire, killing the suspect.
In the end, 49 innocent people were killed in the worst mass shooting in American history. And those videos give us an idea of what those brave officers were up against on that terrible night.
Yeah, they were so courageous. Okay, Brian, thanks very much. Michael?
All right, thank you, George. And this morning, police are investigating a possible hate crime at the home of LeBron James in Los Angeles. The NBA star, well, he's speaking out about it ahead of tonight's game, and ABC's Matt Gutman is in Los Angeles with the story. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning, Michael. You know how hard it is to throw LeBron James off his legendary game day focus, but the star admits the racial epithet spray-painted on the electronic gate to his home did just that, saying that the possible hate crime is killing him inside and admitting the place he'd rather be right now is with his family. The Los Angeles police are investigating the vandalism at the home of NBA star LeBron James as a possible hate crime.
It was a racial slur that was painted on his gate, and the department takes hate crimes extremely seriously.
Overnight, the three-time champ speaking out to ESPN.
If it takes for someone to spray paint my gate and use that derogatory term, that hate on my family, to shed a light on what the real issue is in the world, then so be it.
According to investigators, the graffiti was reported by a property manager at about 6:45 a.m. Wednesday morning and immediately removed by workers. James and his family weren't in the home at the time. Still, he says he's turning the incident into an opportunity to speak up about race in America.
And it hurts, and it's like unfortunate, and I got to sit here and I got to talk to my kids about what it means to grow up being an African-American, a black kid in America, because no matter how much money you got, no matter how famous you are, no matter how many people admire you, at the end of the day, being a black man in America is very frightening.
In Oakland, California, just a few hours north from his home, the King and his Cavs are preparing for Game 1 of the NBA Finals, but he admits his focus isn't entirely on the court.
I will be as focused as I can be on the job at hand tomorrow. This is a situation where, just puts me back in place of what's actually more important, and basketball is not the most important thing in my life.
Now, the LAPD told us that this type of incident is very alarming, but not unusual. And get this, James said that he'd be willing to become a racial lightning rod, saying that if these types of racial acts trigger more discussion about race in America, then he's, quote, not against this happening to me as long as my family is safe. Michael.
All right, thank you, Matt. Definitely not afraid to speak up about
Very
it.
courageous of him. And coming up later in the show, we're going to have our exclusive with LeBron's opponent, Steph Curry. That's coming up in our next half hour. But first, let's go over to Rob with, unfortunately, more storms across the Northeast.
Yeah, 2 days in a row, Amy, of severe weather across the Northeast, just up the Hudson Valley in Poughkeepsie, New York. This video sped up, and you see that rotating wall cloud. This did some damage as it crossed over towards Connecticut. No tornado dropping there, but another mothership thunderstorm from Bradfield up there in Hartford, Connecticut. Hail across parts of the Midwest. Time now for your warm cities, brought to you by Mazda.
I believe computers are important in design, but it's the human touch that creates design with a feeling, creating a form that appeals to your heart.
Why are we so passionate about perfecting designs by hand? Because driving matters. Introducing the all-new Mazda CX-5.
out the door this morning. Get ready for one gorgeous day. Our temperatures starting out in the 70s. Cold front crossing the area. We'll be left with breezy sunshine. High today about 80 to 82 degrees. And we'll continue with the nice weather through the first part of the weekend.